Today I'm doing a dupe. I found some earrings online that I really liked, but unfortunately they were sold out. Now they used the Czech lamp glass beads that I have in stock, and so I thought that I would make some very similar. Welcome back my YouTube friends. If you're new here, my name is Carol, and on this channel we talk about how easy it is to make your own jewellery. Now full credit for this design has to go to West Willow Jewellery. I found the earrings online, as I said, and I just slightly changed the design to make it work better for me. So let's have a look at what you need to make these earrings. In the description box below I will leave a link to the accompanying blog post, which will contain links to all of the supplies that you need to make these earrings. But for now, let's go through them. First off, we're going to start with some chain. Now this is a 5.5mm chain, and you only need about 4 centimeters of it, so not much at all. I also have here 2 ball pins, and these ones are 4 centimeters each, and they are a 24 gauge, so they are quite fine. I have 4 of these 4mm jump rings. I have a pair of twist ear wires. I've got some 26 gauge wire and some 18 gauge wire. You'll only need probably 10 centimeters, if that, of the 18 gauge. As far as beads are concerned, you will need 2 of the Czech Glass Lamp Beads. Now these beads are so cool. Take a look at that. So they are a faceted bead, but they come with an attached bead cap on either side. Very cool. As well as that, I have got some 4mm faceted round glass beads in the colour Peridot. I've got some in the colour Crystal AB as well. As I said, there will be links to everything you need down in the description box. In terms of tools, we're going to need 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. We're going to need a pair of round nose pliers. We'll need some flush cutters. And we'll also need a chasing hammer and a bench block. As well as that, you're going to need a marker pen. Now this one I chose purely for the diameter of the pen. You could also use some bail shaping pliers if you wanted to, and you will need a ruler as well. So the first thing we are going to do is make the horseshoe part of the earring. Now I'm going to take my wire here and I'm going to measure off a piece 5 centimeters long. So my wire's not quite straight, but it will do the job. And I'm going to cut it using the flush side of my cutters. Now if you don't know what that means, the cutters have a flush side and a divoted side, and we want the flush side pointing to the direction of the wire we are going to use. Just pop that there. Now if you have a really close look at my wire, you'll see, hopefully, that it has a pointy end on it. So what I'm going to do is take my flush cutters, and using the flush side, I'm just going to trim off that end. Now I need to make sure that I cover it with my finger so that it doesn't fly away, because little shards of wire are awful when they get stuck in your feet. Okay, so now I just have a 5 centimeter piece of wire, and I'm going to cut my other wire as well. Now I'm making these 2 earrings at exactly the same time, and the reason for that is that we want them to be exactly the same shape, and it's easier to get them the same shape if we do them at the same time. So this one is slightly longer. It's going to cut them both actually. There we go. So now I have 2 pieces of wire the same length, and they both have a flush cut on the ends. Right, next I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to make a loop. Now with these pliers I'm looking at about 4mm from the end. If you're interested in buying these pliers, I will leave a link for them as well in the description box. So if you've never made a loop before, I will leave you a link for a video and a card up the top here to a video all about how to make loops. Alright, so there's loop number 1. Now I need to duplicate that on the other end. So that's what I have, and now I'm going to do that for the other piece as well. So there are my two pieces. Next, I'm going to take my pen and I am going to hold the wire in the middle, kind of centered on the pen, and I'm just going to push it round both sides. Now it doesn't matter whether your loops are in or out, because you will twist them in a minute. And repeat for the other one. That's what I have. And you can see this one, the loops are facing in, and this one, the loops are facing down. So I'm going to get my plain nose pliers, and I'm going to just grab that loop and twist it so that it's facing out. Same on the other side. Now what I want to do is make sure that they're exactly the same. So just popping them one on top of the other, and I can see that they're not, well, they're almost there. In fact, I think that's close enough. So now what I'm going to do is take my bench block and I'm going to pop my wire on there, and I'm going to give them a little bit of a hammer. And the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to flatten them out a little bit. So just holding it and giving it a little tap. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap around the top as well. And turning it over and repeating. That's what I have now, and you can see it's just a little bit flatter, and it has gone out of shape a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to repeat for the other one. Okay, so now I have my two pieces, and they are still the same shape, but you'll see that my little loop has come undone a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to fix that in a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is use my beads here and some of my 26 gauge wire. So I'm going to cut a piece of wire. I like to give myself plenty to work with because it does just help make it easier. And so I've got a piece there that's probably 10 to 15 centimeters long. And I'm going to thread on my bead like that. And then what I'm going to do is I want to wrap it through this loop here. So I'm going to come up through the loop and wrap it around. It's actually first, let's take the bead off. It's better to do it without the bead first time. So just wrap it around. And what you want to do is wrap it through that loop about 3 times. So just pushing the end through. Now I actually really like to use my chain nose pliers to give this a good pull so it's nice and tight. And it'll wiggle around and misbehave, but that's okay. We'll fix it in a minute. So that's one. That's 2. And you can squeeze them together this way as well. And then one more time. So what you want is both ends on the same side, like that. Now what you want to do is trim off your wires, one wire, not both. And now you can tidy it up. You want to tuck that end in, and then if you need to, you can squish them together. Now mine's not perfectly aligned, and that's okay. Just want to make sure that your end isn't sticking up, and I can feel that mine is just a fraction. So just squeezing it so that it's sitting down. Now I actually think that my horseshoe shape is possibly just a little bit too wide, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a squeeze, and then I'm going to line it up with the other one and make sure that the other one is the same. And there we go. So that's what I have now. I've got the wire coming out from underneath and I've got it wrapped around. Now next I am going to put my bead on, and I want my bead to sit in the center of that horseshoe shape. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to just thread it through and bring it around, through again. You can see it's easier when you've got a longer tail. And I should have left a longer tail on the first side. So just wrapping it 3 times again. Now you can be as neat or as messy as you like with this one. It's entirely up to you. All right. You know, it's funny, you can do it perfectly off camera, but as soon as you turn the camera on, it's not perfect. Okay, now I'm going to cut that end off. Actually, I'm just going to give that a bit of a squeeze. Just making sure my end is not sticking up. And I also just want to manipulate it so that my bead is sitting nice and flat or straight in there, which it's not, so we'll just give it a bit of a wiggle. That's what I have now. So now I'm not going to do the other earring for you, because that is the most important part, to get that straight, and you don't need to watch me do that again. So for now I'll just do this one, carry on with just this one. So what I'm going to do next is just pop that aside, and I'm going to make the chain part. So the chain is made up of 5 links, which is about 2 centimeters. So I'm going to actually count my links. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm cutting on the 6th one. Just double checking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I do not need the 6th one. So there's my little piece of chain. Put that one aside. And now I'm going to make my dangles. So you do in fact need 10 ball pins, not 2, sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to take one of my ball pins, and I'm going to thread on one of my little crystal beads, my clear ones, and one green one, or peridot. And now I'm going to make a wire wrapped loop in the top of this wire. Now, if you haven't done this before, I will leave you a link in the description box for a video on how to do it. So what you do is you bend your wire at the top, leaving a little space, and you do that by putting your pliers at the top. Just bend the wire over the top of the pliers. And now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and tucking them into that bend, and I'm going to push that around the wire, right around, twist the pliers, and then bring the wire up so it's at a right angle there. Now I'm going to thread on the first link of my chain, so right at the end, and I'm pushing it up and through into that loop. So that's what I have now. Now I'm going to hold that loop with my chain nose pliers. Now you can do this with your fingers, or you can use another pair of chain nose pliers. Personally, I prefer to use another pair of pliers. So grabbing it on the end, and I'm going to go around 1, 2, and 3. And once again, you can be as neat or as messy as you want, and I'm going to trim off that tail. Making loops and making wire wrap loops, it's practice, and you just keep practicing until you have it right. Still got a little bit of a tail there. Now just tuck in the end with your chain nose pliers. So that's what I have now, and I'm going to repeat that for the other end. That's what I have now. Now we're going to make one for the center, but this one has one of the crystal beads, and this time it has 2 of the green. It's just a little bit longer than the others. So like that. And now I'm going to make my wire wrapped loop in this one as well. This time I'm going to be attaching it to the center link of the chain. So it's link number 3. I'm just trimming off that wire. Tucking in the end just like before. Stop the presses. I realized in editing I made a mistake when I recorded this video, and what I did was, instead of putting my 5 dangles on, I only put 3 on. So there's my earring completed, and I only put 3 of the dangles on in the video. So I'm going to go back and start the project again from that point. Okay, so that's where we got to. We had this dangle, this chain made with a dangle on each end with 2 beads and one with 3 beads on in the center. Now what we need to do is make 2 more of the 2 bead dangles, which I've already done. Okay, so now we're going to take a jump ring and we're going to open it. Now this is a 4mm jump ring. If you haven't used jump rings before, I will leave you a link in the description box below to a video all about how to use jump rings. And I'm going to feed on one of my new wire wrapped dangles. Then I'm going to put on the loop or the link of the end of the chain, so the last link on the chain. And I'm also going to put on the loop of my horseshoe. Now I'm going to close that up. And just double checking that it's closed. And that is what I have now. So you see I've got my new dangle, I've got my one on the end, and I've got my other 2. Now what I need to do is repeat that for the other end. So just taking another jump ring and opening it. Putting on my dangle. Putting on my chain and my loop of my horseshoe. Just try to make sure that you don't twist your chain, because you want your dangles to hang nicely. So there we go. There it is with its 5 dangles as it was supposed to be. Now I'm going to make the top part of the earring, and I'm going to do that using some 26 gauge wire. So I'm just going to put a bend in my wire, a right angle bend, just like that. And I am going to make a wire wrapped loop Now I want this loop to be slightly larger than the ones I've made before. Just moving up my pliers a little bit. So the last ones I made the loops right down here. This one I'm making a little bit further up, just so that it's a slightly larger loop than the other one. Now before I wire wrap it, I want to feed on the top part of my horseshoe component. Holding it with my pliers, and this time I'm just going to use my finger to actually wrap it around just my hand because I've got a good tail there. All right, now just trimming off the end, just like before. And tucking that end in. A little long, just trim it off a little bit more. All right, so that's what I have now. Now I'm going to feed on my one remaining peridot bead, and I'm going to make a wire wrapped loop on the other end. This time I'm not going to add anything into it. And this one can be slightly smaller, more like the size of the first ones. Now, if you're enjoying this video and you would like to see more of my projects, it would be really wonderful if you would subscribe to the channel. That really helps my channel out, and it will also allow me to bring you more great videos in the future. So just wrapping that one around. And trimming off my end. And if you really like this video, you could just hit that like button as well. And tucking in my end. I must admit, I do struggle sometimes with 26 gauge wire. It's really easy to wrap, but sometimes it's hard to get looking nice. So there's my earring with its 5 dangles. Now all that's left to do is attach the ear wire to the loop. Now I could have put the ear wire into the loop when I wire wrapped it, but I actually wanted to show you how to open an ear wire if you haven't done that before. So what I'm going to do is take the ear wire, the loop of the ear wire on the side that it opens, which is this side, and I'm going to hold it in my pliers like that. Don't hold it like this, hold it on the side there so that you're supporting the loop, so that you basically the loop won't lose its shape. And then holding the rest of the ear wire between your thumb and your forefinger, then just twist your hand down, and what that does is it opens the loop there. Now thread on your component that you've just made, and basically all you're going to do is reverse that process, so closing it exactly the same way, making sure it's really well closed. And there is your earring. There are my earrings with their 5 dangles. Now if you're interested in making any of the jewellery you've seen me wearing in this video, I will leave links for the Valentine's earrings, the heart earrings, which I was wearing in both parts of the video, and in the first part of the video I was also wearing my Queen of Hearts necklace, which I'll leave a link to that as well in the description box below, so all of those links. Now if you would like to purchase the materials for these earrings from our store, I do have a discount code for you. It is LAMP, so that will give you a 10% discount on all of the materials I used in these earrings. Thank you so much for watching today. Now, if you would like to see what we're up to a little bit more, then check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again soon.